So the question is from Mike of San Francisco. And Mike says, we'd like to purchase land and build a custom home and with pool in Oahu. How long would the process take? What is the average to high range build cost? And would the construction cost vary depending on what area of the island we're in? We noticed some new developments in Makaha and are curious about that area. Is it an up and coming area? Are there any plans by the local governments to improve the commute from that area to town? And the first thing I gotta share with you is I read this to the guys off the show as we're kind of getting ready for the show. And as soon as we all saw this slide, we all laughed really, really hard about it because of the general comments about Makaha. And I think this really illustrates that you really need to kind of connect with people like us. You want to connect with Scott, you want to connect with me, you want to be on the website, because if you did, you'd realize that Makaha is, well, I'll let Scott talk about Makaha. So Scott, why don't you kind of hit this one? We got a whole bunch of questions. Take it to where you want to take it about the custom home costs, refurbishing, what's going on with Makaha, et cetera. Hit it.
Yeah, I mean, the first one, how long is the process, for a build? I mean, the first challenge that you have over here, and just to give a little background, I do have the development company. I do new home construction. I'm building right now in Kapahulu, where I get out there with the guys in frame. I run these projects and do syndications, investment syndications. So I have a significant background in this area. Just from the permitting, design and permitting phase, you're probably looking at a year. Design portion, depending on how quickly you work with your architect to get it pinned down, but minimum you're looking 6 months for permitting. And we hire a third-party plan review company. We pay them extra money to try to move that process through. And we ended up at almost a year for Hauula and about 6 to 8 months for the permit, not including the design side for Kapahulu. So then you got the construction time frame, year and a half. If you're doing something custom with a pool, as far out as 2 years, depending on how detailed that home is going to be and how custom it's going to be. Can you bring up the other questions, Peter? Average rate, average cost for build, you're looking $200 to $400 a square foot for the general range. Once you get a $400 to $1,000 a square foot for custom, depending on how custom you go, you could easily end up in the $600 a square foot range for build cost over here on the custom in side. As far as Makaha up and coming, I love Makaha. Makaha is one of my favorite places. I've spent a lot of times out at the Makaha Beach Cabanas. I've sold a couple of oceanfront properties out there. I absolutely love it to get away, to relax. I love that coastline, but there's some significant challenges in Makaha. Commute is one of them. Commute is always going to end up having to get out of that leeward coast with one way in, one way out. I know they've widened the road, but I have a client that lives out there on the ocean, and it might improve it a little bit, but one accident and you can't get out of the leeward coast out there. The good thing is, and this is kind of funny, but building out of Kapolei as the second city, I do see Makaha as being a significant value play and a great place to buy close to the ocean, because it used to be to get out of Makaha to go to your big box stores and things, you were driving all the way to Pearl City, which was 45 minutes or more, maybe even an hour. Now that they've built out Kapolei and they're going to continue to as our second city, I actually see that as being along the coastline, one of the most affordable, best value, long-term value deals as far as oceanfront, because your commute to Kapolei to get everything that you need is not nearly as bad anymore. But you have to live out there with the understanding that you're going to get stuck out there sometimes, or stuck not being able to get back home due to the one way in, one way out, and the commute time into Honolulu. Man, you're talking an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours to get into town. And that,
thanks, Scott. That's a great overview. I'm kind of one thing that struck me about the Makaha comment was the cultural side. So Dylan, why don't you kind of speak to this one just for a little bit? You just moved. You've been living in you're Mike. You've been in San Francisco. You're going to move to Hawaii, and see, Scott's already smiling. Go ahead. So don't hold back here, Dylan. So you move to Oahu, and the first place you sort of move to is Makaha. What should you be prepared for? And make sure you yeah, there you go.
Yeah, well, it's a very local town, and that's one thing. And the advice I always give, because we work with tons of people who move here from someplace else, and people have sometimes apprehensions about that. Will they be accepted? And my general advice is, if you come here and accept us, we will accept you. And it's the people that come here and say we're messed up and it should be more like where you came from that don't last very long and have a hard time. So, I'm surrounded by people. My mother being one of them. She came from New York in the 70s and assimilated right in, and you could never tell she lived anywhere else. My in-laws came from California in the 70s also, and are as local as you can possibly be. So aloha is not something that's in your blood. It's something that's in your attitude. And that's the biggest thing, is you have to be prepared for that. It's going to be a little bit more extreme if you go to a community like Makaha that has primarily long time local families. There's not as many transients in those areas, and every island has those pockets of communities, and that's something that you want to consider before you purchase there. Is that the right fit for you?
Yeah, I would not make Makaha the very first place I move into. It's a right. Thank you. Y'all caught that laugh there. That was not rehearsed. It would not be the first place I would move to. It'd be the place that you might move to once you kind of get a feel for what's going on in Hawaii, and you've been here for a little while and you understand the truth of what Dylan said. But it does require a transformation, and I got a ton of videos about talking about those very things. Let's move on. Well, real quick, here's a real quick one. This is how far is the commute from Makaha to the closest military installation? Scott, you want to hit that one real quick? That should be a pretty easy one.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they have the back entry open to Schofield. I know they had closed it down for a while. If not, then 30, 40 minutes through the mountain. But if it's closed, then you're probably talking an hour and 15 minutes to split to go up the H2 to Schofield. You're probably talking an hour and a half to Pearl Harbor. Pacific Command's right there as well. So you're at least looking probably an hour.
And that's on a good day. That's on a good day. That's with a
beautiful drive, but
gorgeous drive all the way there and all the way back. Yeah.